It's great you could be with us again. I am with Greg Engert, beer director for the Neighborhood Restaurant Group, a James Beard Award nominee. The group includes Churchkey downstairs, Birch and Barley, that's on 14th near Logan Circle, of course. Also up in North Bethesda, Owen's Ordinary. Great time to go have a beer up there as it gets warmer, sit outside. Greg, it is always good to see you.
You too, bud.
What do we have on tap this week? I love this name.
Yes, this name, the beer is called Hop Broth.
Broth.
And
broth. Best broth there is.
It is. And with the haze, it looks brothy, which is great. It's from our friends at Diamondback Brewing Company up in Baltimore. So, you know, these guys have been around since 2014. They were contract brewing for a couple of years, and it was a rough go for them at that point, trying to find their way and figure out their brewing identity. They got serious and really kind of came of age starting in 2016 when they opened their production facility and tap room in the Locust Point neighborhood of Baltimore. And they make lots of different things. We'll talk about that in a second. But one of the beers they've been known for since 2017, kind of up and down the East Coast, is this. It's a hazy double IPA, 8% alcohol. It's called Hop Broth.
Hop Broth. These guys make some ridiculous stuff.
It's really good. Green Machine is their go-to flagship IPA, which is great. You see it a lot in DC. You see it at our properties. You see it at Owen's Ordinary, like you mentioned, up in North Bethesda. If you go to Baltimore, it's everywhere, which is amazing. And then Hop Broth is a much rarer beer, but you do see it around a bit on draft. They do some canned releases at the brewery. Phenomenal. They're great at haze. Now, I will say though, that's kind of where they started to make their name originally. They still do a lot of hazy beers, but they're very interested in kind of maturing as a brewery to offer many different drinking experiences. So they're doing tons of lagers now.
Good. Happy with
lots
that.
of clean beer, lots of classic styles like Kolsch and mild. They actually collaborated with Guinness. You know, the Guinness Brewery opened a satellite location outside of Baltimore.
Right.
They worked with them to brew a Czech-style dark lager called the Tomavi, which we just did.
Yeah.
So they're doing that, and they've got some barrel-aged Imperial Stout stuff that they've released to great fanfare. And they have a mixed fermentation sour beer production area going, and they're looking to release their first beer from that series in August of this year. So Francis, Tom, and Colin are doing really good stuff up in Baltimore.
And as you said, and as we talked about when we've done previous Diamondback beers, it got a little bit of a shaky start. But man, when the ball came over the plate, they hit it.
They did, yeah. I mean, I was like, I think, it's a good lesson about contract brewing. Contract brewing is tough. You don't have control over everything. You don't have your control over your destiny as much. It's hard to pivot and make new beer styles as you learn the market and as you learn yourselves about yourselves more. The margin's small. So they got through that, which is great. And once they got their brick and mortar going, it gave them time to say, okay, if this is going to work, we have to change course here. And they did. And I think they do a really nice job of balancing their offerings.
Yeah, I mean, would you say they're sort of a textbook example of how to navigate those waters if you start out
totally,
with
and they're still very small.
with contract brewing?
Yeah, I mean, they're still very small. But the thing that changed was that they didn't just make the beers they thought they were supposed to make. They started making beers that were popular, but also beers they wanted to make. And they found a nice intersection between what they do and what people love, and they're educating the consumer and getting the consumer interested in the beers they make. Their tap room's really cool in Locust Point. You got to check it out.
Yeah, I gotta go up there.
It's really fun. As far as food pairing goes, because this is what I've been thinking about. If you go to Locust Point and you go to Diamondback, there is an amazing old school seafood place right like across the road. It's called LP Steamers. You ever heard of that or been there?
I don't think so.
Incredible food, really affordable food. It's a classic of Baltimore. So when you think about food pairing for this beer, this Imperial Juicy IPA that's really fruit forward and citric and lemony but not too bitter, it goes great with that kind of food, whether it's steamed crabs, steamed shrimp, crab cakes, fried shrimp, calamari, scallops, anything like in those kind of seafood, old school seafood spots is going to work really well with these hazy double IPAs.
Oh, isn't that convenient? Well, maybe I'll stop by there in September if I go see my hapless Seattle Mariners lose to the Orioles.
Yes.
A couple of
Should do that.
not very good teams. Craig, thank you as always.
Thank you.
Everyone, please always do drink responsibly. We've had a good time here at Rustico for the last few taping sessions in Alexandria. And be sure to bring your thirst next time for another beer of the week.